Hey guys, welcome to another Naruto CCG Deck Profile. This week I'll be profiling a Ninja Toads deck. It's a rush deck that aims to get Ninja Toads out early and disrupt your opponent to the point where they can no longer fight back and you can get the win pretty quickly. As always, the rogue list for this deck is based on a Discord tournament server that I've been part of for quite a bit, but I will also give you details on how to modify the deck for the Untap rogue list, which is the other rogue list that I primarily use in my spare time. And also, as always, the deck list will be listed in the description down below. You can take that, upload it to Untap, and peruse the cards at your leisure, modify the deck how you want, and print it out for yourself. That being said, let's get right into this Ninja Toads deck list with Turn 0 ninjas. Starting off, I run 3 Messenger Ninjas. It is by far the best Turn 0 Lightning Ninja for any Lightning deck. Its effect is, during your mission phase, you can reveal the top 6 cards of your deck. If there are 1 or more Ninja cards with an entrance cost of 1 or less and a Lightning symbol, you can discard this Ninja, and in that case, put 1 of them in play and return the rest and shuffle your deck. So this card is extremely good because not only does it allow you to search out for your other Turn 0 ninjas, but it can also search for a Turn 1 ninja on your Turn 0 to put it in play a turn early. This is really important because one of the key cards of this deck is a Naruto, and having Naruto clones on Turn 1 come out on Turn 0 can save you a lot of time in getting out that Naruto as fast as possible. Its stats are pretty negligible with 0-0 and actually -1 when injured, but the entire purpose of this ninja is to search out other Turn 0s and 1s. One interesting strategy you can do with this ninja is if you search and you find another Messenger Ninja in the top 6 of your deck, you can actually use its effect to put in play that second Messenger Ninja, and then that second Messenger Ninja can still use its effect again. The game does not track the name of the ninja whose effect was used, it tracks the actual card itself. So as long as it's a new card, you can still use the effect even though this is at a solid once per turn. So this is by far the best Lightning Ninja at Turn 0, and it's mostly just to boost the ability of the rest of them. Next, I run 2 Great Toad Sage, another Turn 0 and 0 hand cost, obviously. Its effect is valid. When one of your Ninja Toad ninjas becomes the user of a jutsu, you can draw 1 card. So this is just a good draw engine for the deck, as there are a lot of instances where you can use jutsus for toads. But importantly, this card does proc as the jutsu is put onto the chain. It does not need to fully resolve in order to get the draw. So you could actually draw into another jutsu, possibly, or some other way out in your deck. So it's mostly just there to provide the draw power, but it is also a Turn 0 oil. It is also a Ninja Toad itself, and it does have a pretty decent 2 support for a Turn 0 ninja. So all in all, I do run 2 of them. 3 would probably be too clunky, and 1 would just be unnecessary. Then I run 2 Naruto Uzumaki Legacy from the 4th Hokage, one of the best Turn 0 draws. Its effect is when this ninja is put in play, draw 1 card. And its second effect is valid. Every Akatsuki ninja in your opponent's hand gets -1 entrance cost. Obviously a negative for that second effect, but the entire point of this card is to facilitate draw power, and there aren't a lot of Akatsuki that are going to be running around that you're really concerned about. Hopefully you're going to be using this for growth or for a platoon later on anyway. So I run 2 of these because I only run 1 Turn 3 Naruto, and having a Turn 0 Naruto is extremely important for a platoon that I run that you want to get out as early as possible. Otherwise, it does have growth, which is pretty decent, and its stats are 0-0 and 3-0 when injured. So if you growth this and then it becomes injured, this actually gets up to a 4 by itself on Turn 0, which is pretty good. Another boon is that this does have the oil combat attribute, which is usable for a jutsu. So with this and the Great Toad Sage, you actually have 4 targets with oil on Turn 0. So that's very beneficial. Searchable with Naruto clones, though you rarely would want to, unless you've already drawn into the platoon. But it's there to facilitate later plays, basically. Next, I run 2 Kushina Uzumaki. This is limited to 2 on both of the lists, but it is typically ran at 2 because it has this growth mechanic, so it can put a copy on the field into your chakra area to bring out another one and put a growth coin on it. Its effect is valid. When this ninja is put in play, you can move up to 2 cards from the top of your deck to your chakra area. It might seem like a detriment to you, but getting early chakra is extremely important for most decks and is especially important for this deck in particular. And like I said, with growth, you can put in play a second one on the next turn without using your deploy for that turn. So if you have 2 of these, you can actually get 4 chakra in 2 turns, which is very helpful. 0-2 and 0-0 for its stats, just like Great Toad Sage, 2 is pretty good for a turn 0. This is also searchable by the Naruto clone that I run, but like the turn 0 Naruto, you're probably not going to want to search it unless you already have all the other pieces in your hand or on your field and you just happen to be able to search anyway. You could also search out for this to kind of thin your deck with that clone as well, but that's not exactly recommended. And you might notice that I'm running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 turn 0s. And as I like to mention, I typically try to run 11 turn 0s at minimum. Well, that's not going to really come into play in this deck because of a mission I have later on. So we'll get to that when we get to that, but just be aware that right now I do officially only run 9 turn 0s. And for turn 1s, I run 3 Naruto Uzumaki clone. This is the clone with non-unique. It is not the wind clone that can search for a clone status. This one is, when this ninja is put in play, you can search your deck for 1 ninja card with Uzumaki in its name, reveal it and move it to your hand, and then shuffle your deck afterwards. So the Uzumaki qualifier is why you can search the Kushina, why you can search the Narutos without clone status in your deck. And this one in particular needs to be run in this deck because of the platoon I run not having clone status. So this card can search itself. It can search the Kushina, can search the platoon, can search any childhoods you might have or any turn 0s that you might have. So that's very beneficial. It is non-unique, so you can put it in play if you have another clone in play as well. And then 2-0 and 4-0 for stats are pretty good, especially when injured, though they could be a little better. Unfortunately, it does have ninjutsu instead of oil, but honestly, that's not really going to come up very often as you only have a couple jutsus that require that anyway. The big thing about Naruto clones, both of them, is that they do not have the name Naruto Uzumaki, so they do not actually count as a Naruto. So even though this one does have non-unique, if it did not, you could still put it in play with a Naruto on your field because this does not count as Naruto. So that is a boon. However, this does also mean that this can't use Naruto jutsus. Can't use Rasengans, Rasen Shurikens, Shadow Clones, whatever, because it is not Naruto. So just keep that in mind on the good and the bad side of that. Next for turn 1s, I run 1 Naruto Uzumaki and Gamakichi, I run 2 of them. This is limited to 1 on the Untap Discord for good reason. This card is extremely powerful, but on the tournament Discord for the modified Midwest list, this is at 2, recently reduced down to 2 from 3, where it was just insane. I think it should be 1 or even banned, but while it's running at 2, I will run it at 2. Its effect is valid. Any Ninja Toad ninjas in your hand get -3 entrance cost. And valid, every in-play Ninja Toad except this ninja gets +1/+1. So not only does it boost the power of your Ninja Toads, it reduces their their entrance cost by 3, allowing them to come out 3 turns earlier, which is ridiculous. A turn 7 Gamabunta will come out on turn 4 now. It does not have clone status, so it has to be searched by the Naruto clone, but that is why I run 3 of them, because you want to see this on turn 1 or even turn 0 if possible. Platooning is a mechanic where this ninja in your hand can be put into play by moving a Naruto Uzumaki or a Gamakichi from your field to your chakra area. As long as you don't have the other one in play as well, you can put this into play with a platoon mechanic. It does not count as your deploy, and then this is in play for free. The caveat being that this is the only mechanic that can put in play this platoon. If you have a card that can put in play Uzumaki or Gamakichi, it isn't going to be able to put in play this platoon at all. It can only be put in play via the platoon mechanic. Otherwise, this has ninjutsu and oil. It has 2-0 and 4-0, which are pretty good stats, and obviously it boosts the ninja toads that you have. So if it's out on turn 1, your Great Ninja Toad, Great Toad Sage will have 3 for its support, making this a team of 5 with that. However, its biggest boon is the -3 entrance cost, which is going to be used with a few ninjas moving on right now. For turn 2s, I run 2 Gamakichi. The reason I run these 2 instead of any earlier turn in order to use it with this platoon is because the mission I have allows you to put this in play on turn 0, effectively making the deck have 12 turn 0s, and we will get to that when we get to that. However, right now, its effect is when this ninja is put in play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You can reveal a Ninja Toad card among them and move it to your hand, then move the rest to the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is very good because with that mission, you can put this in play on turn 0, even if the entrance cost is 2. And then when this is put in play, you can search, and if you are able to find the Naruto and Gamakichi, you can bring that to your hand immediately and immediately platoon over this Gamakichi into the platoon. You can also search for any of the Senjutsu toads that you're going to be wanting to look for, any of the other toads that might catch your eye. However, having toads in your hand outside of the Senjutsu ones that you want to deploy is actually going to be a negative in some situations because you're going to want them in your deck to search for. But otherwise, this is essentially a turn 0, hopefully with the mission that allows it to be put in play, but is otherwise a turn 2. It does have growth if for some reason you need to growth over Naruto and Gamakichi, though that won't stop any negative effects, like if there are any coins or missions attached to it or anything, because growth does carry over no matter what. But it does have oil. It's a 3-2 and 2-1 when injured, and obviously it is a Ninja Toad. So in a sense, this is a turn 0 that you'll be able to search out for, but is mostly there for platooning and for searching of future toads. Lastly, for turn 2s, I run 1 Konohamaru Ninja Squad. This is limited to 1 on both of the lists for good reason. Its effect is when this ninja is put in play, reveal the top card of your deck, then move that card to your hand. This does not count as a draw, so if there are any beneficial or detrimental effects based on draws, this does not count as one. And then the second effect is valid. Other Leaf ninjas in this ninjas team cannot be affected by the effects of your opponent's ninjas. Just a very good effect all around. Every card in this deck is Leaf except for Messenger Ninjas, I believe. So that comes in handy just to prevent ninjas that might negate your effects, ninjas that might give you damage, such as Guy, Eyes of the Snake, Sasuke, Freezing Glare, things like that. Obviously, this card is still affected in the team, but the rest of the ninjas will be, so just blanket protection is very good. On to turn 3s, I run 1 Naruto Uzumaki Sage in training. This does have a name Naruto Uzumaki, so I can't run more than 1 because I do run the 2 turn 0s. However, its effect is valid. Your ninja toads get +1/+1, the same as the platoon giving that. So you can, once you're done with the platoon, growth over it with this and basically have the same boon. And the second effect is valid when one of your ninjas becomes the user of a jutsu with combination, which is an effect I'll get into once I get into the jutsus. You can search your deck for a jutsu card with combination in its effect text, reveal it, shuffle your deck, then place that card on top of your deck. So it allows you to search out other jutsus when jutsus are used. The best jutsu in this deck is a combination jutsu for toads, so that's very beneficial. It does have oil, and it is 3-0 and 6-0 when injured. As always, Naruto gets stronger when he's injured, unlike most ninjas. Obviously searchable by the Naruto clone, so you do have a better target once you already have the platoon in your hand and you're already making plays with that. It does have growth, obviously, so it can growth over any of your other Narutos. Clone status if you need it, but is otherwise a pretty standard Naruto for toads. Doesn't provide too much, but once your Gamakichi and Naruto platoon is done with, you might as well growth over it and still get the bonus. Lastly, for turn 3s, I run 2 Shima. It is a lightning and fire ninja toad. It has Senjutsu, which is an effect where any of the specific symbols of a jutsu this ninja uses are treated as one colorless chakra for the purposes of paying its cost. That is very important for this deck. The deck is basically based around that Senjutsu passive effect. And its first written effect is when this ninja is put in play, you can discard an in-play non-ninja card. This is very important for if your opponent is running like comp strengths, dehydration, which will be negating your ninja's effects with a mission that stays on the field. This will be able to remove that mission from the field and essentially stop that negative effect from hitting you. This can also remove permanent missions, clients, pretty much anything that's a detriment to you that is not a ninja on the field. Certain tokens, but basically this is here for the Senjutsu and for the ability to protect your ninjas from those mission effects. On to turn 4s, one of the key components of the deck, along with Shima to a little bit of a lesser extent, is Fukasaku, a lightning wind ninja toad. He also has Senjutsu, so the same thing. He can pay for any jutsu costs with any chakra. And his effect is, when this ninja is put in play, search your deck for a Shima ninja card, reveal it, then move it to your hand. And the second effect being, when this ninja is sacrificed, draw 2 cards. The sacrifice effect doesn't really come into play. I don't run Jiraiya Sage mode in this deck, though it is very possible to splash in a Jiraiya to be able to make use of that. And that is the main use for that second effect there. But even the first effect is pretty negligible. You can search for the Shima, obviously, if you have non-ninja cards that you really need to get rid of, and it helps thin your deck a little bit. But the main draw is the Senjutsu, which obviously Shima does have as well. But this just being turn 4 and having 4 support, which is incredible, is more beneficial. It does have oil, is a ninja toad, so you're really running it for the 4 support and the Senjutsu for the main jutsu of the deck. On to turn 5s, I run 1 Gamaken. Ninja toad is lightning and water, has no hand cost, and its effect is valid. When this ninja is put in play, remove all of your opponent's animal ninjas with an entrance cost of 2 or less from the game, obviously harkening back to the pain fight with Jiraiya. And his second valid effect, this ninja's team can block up to 2 teams, and the blocked teams use their combined team power. So this card specification is what implies that those without that specification can block without adding the team power together. So unfortunately, this does add the team power, which is not as good, which is why I only run it at 1. But if you have a very strong team like this with Fukasaku and either the Naruto or the platoon on the field, would be a team of 11, which is very strong. And being able to block 2 teams means you can't really attack wildly with weak ninjas hoping to get through, because you can chump block with a very powerful team. So I do only run it at 1 because it isn't the best effect, isn't the best powerhouse in the deck, but is very useful as a higher entrance cost turn 5 toad. On to turn 6s, I run 2 Giant Ninja Toad, one of the key toads of the deck in the later game. Its effect is, when this ninja is put in play, you can select and move one of your opponent's ninjas with an entrance cost of 3 or less to the bottom of its owner's deck. This is the main target for the Summoning Jutsus in this deck, and one of the main strategies for different meta Ninja Toad builds. Not exactly mine, but it is still incredibly easy to pull off. It does have 1 hand cost, which could come up if you're going to be deploying this specifically. But otherwise, it's incredibly powerful with 6-4 and 5-2 when injured. And its effect being able to be pulled off very easily with the platoon that lowers its entrance cost by 3. And summoning jutsus that can bring it out early means that you can bounce something from your opponent's side of the field to the bottom of the deck, which might as well be a kill since it is removed from the field entirely, allowing you to swing wildly and not allowing them to block as easily. And for the last ninja of the deck, it is Gamabunta on turn 7 with 1 hand cost. This is the head of the Gama clan Gamabunta, the chibi one. Its effect is, when this ninja is put in play, you can move up to X cards from your hand to your chakra area, then move the same number of cards from the top of your deck to your hand, where X equals the number of your lightning ninjas. Like Konohamaru Ninja Squad, this is not a draw, so if there are any effects based on draws, this does not proc off of it. And its second effect is valid. While your opponent has less chakra than you, this ninja and your turn marker are unaffected by your opponent's ninja and jutsu effects. That's very strong, as obviously its first effect allows you to pump your chakra based on the number of ninjas that you have. And being immune to ninja and jutsus is incredibly strong. It's very hard to get rid of this ninja. He has 9-0 and 6-0 when injured, oil and weapon, and it has mastery. So even if your opponent manages to get a team larger than 9 plus whatever else it has in its team, it can use the jutsus one after another, with mastery saying that if you pay 1 more chakra upon resolution of the jutsu, that chakra needing to match the element of the jutsu, you can put that jutsu back in your hand afterwards. That's usable once per turn, but largely you won't need to use it more than once per turn for the jutsus that you're going to be using in this deck. On to jutsus. The first jutsu I run is Tsuchigumo style, Forbidden Jutsu Release Big Bang. If you've watched any of my lightning or wind deck profiles, you'll know that this is a staple in every single one of them. It is limited to 1 on both of the lists for good reason. It's a jutsu that costs 1 wind or 1 lightning chakra, and its effect is charge 1 card, in that case draw 2 cards. Draw power is one of the most important aspects of any card game, and this card being hand neutral in that it you end up with the same number of cards that you started with when it was used, and actually with +1 chakra means that this card is very, very powerful. You can use it during your jutsu phase and draw into more jutsus that you didn't have in the first place, allowing you to kind of fish for outs in a clash that you might not be winning. So this is just an extremely strong card, limited to 1 like I said, and you should run it in every single wind and or lightning deck. I also run 1 Release of Chakra, another jutsu that is limited to 1 on the Untap list, but is actually free to run 3 copies of in the tournament list that I play in. I believe that is a mistake. This card is extremely powerful, as at 1 chakra you can move 3 cards from your hand to your chakra area and then draw 3 cards. This has been errated to be 3 and 3, not 3 and 4, and it also has been errated to say that in this case of moving the 3 from your hand to your chakra, you can draw 3. The difference being, obviously, that it's 3 instead of 4. But the second difference being that in this case means that you must move at least 3. If you have 0 cards in your hand, 1 card, 2 cards, you cannot get the draw effect based off of this. The way it's worded on the actual card before the errata, you could move 0 cards to your chakra area, because the second effect was not based on that movement. So you would move 0 and then you would still draw 4, which is stupid. But even with the errata, it's still limited to 1, and it still should be limited to 1, because drawing 3 cards during your jutsu phase, with the potential of drawing into another Release of Chakra, into another Tsuchigumo, into a 3rd Release of Chakra after that, means that you'll be seeing a huge portion of your deck potentially. Even just seeing 3 more cards, which is probably going to be around 10% of your deck, maybe more, maybe a little less, is massive to find more jutsus for any exchange. If used on your opponent's turn, you can have more than the 6 in your hand and requiring you to discard, as the hand limit is checked at the end of your turn, so you do not have to discard on your opponent's turn. So if you use this on their turn, you'll be able to keep those cards through to your next turn. So incredibly powerful. I do run it at 1, mostly to conform to the untap, but also for space constraints. Next, I run 2 Summoning Jutsu. This is the one with Gamabunta on top. There's not really any way to differentiate between jutsus with the same name. But it's a lightning jutsu with a cost of 1 lightning and 1 colorless chakra. Requirements are oil combat attribute, which is why it was important for us to have the turn 0 oils in Naruto and Great Toad Sage. And its effect is search for one Ninja Toad ninja card in your deck, show it to your opponent, and place it in your hand. Then shuffle your deck. If your turn marker is equal to or higher than the entrance cost of that Ninja Toad ninja card, you can place it in the user's team in any position, ignoring its entrance requirements. So this card has a bit of controversy around it, as there was an unofficial errata, I believe, due to translations, where a new printed errata card was printed that does not include the stipulation of moving it to your hand first, which is the crux of this jutsu being usable with the Naruto platoon. Because the Naruto platoon is going to reduce the entrance cost of the cards in your hand specifically. So if it doesn't go to your hand, it's not going to be reduced. And if it's not going to be reduced, you're not going to be able to bring it out onto the field, most likely. So the way that it works on paper, let's say you have Naruto and Gamakichi. They use Summoning Jutsu as they have the oil combat attribute. You can search for a Fukasaku on turn 1. It is moved to your hand, and now that it is in your hand, Naruto and Gamakichi are reducing its entrance cost by 3, which means its entrance cost is equal to or lower than your turn marker, so you can put that Fukasaku into play on turn 1. I don't believe this is how it should work. I do understand that it has technically, maybe not even technically, but it has allegedly been errata to work that way. The way the errata came out being unofficial and a translation change is rubbing me the wrong way. I don't believe that we should be going based off of unofficial patches, essentially, without any backing or acknowledgement by the developers. But obviously there are actual cards that have the new wording written on it, and they are the latest version of this card. So it is kind of controversial. I don't think there's one wrong or right way to rule this. It hasn't really come up in the community until lately that this is a potential change. So I tend to run it the way that it is written and has been played, which isn't really a statement about my beliefs on the system, because I don't think we should be running things how they used to be simply for the fact that they are familiar, but more due to the fact that it was unofficial. There isn't really much backing it besides the fact that it was printed. So long story short, I do run it the way that it's written here on this version. If you run it in a different version, then you're probably not going to want to use this, as it's going to run specifically with your turn marker, which is kind of the antithesis of the entire deck. So be that as it may, feel free to use this jutsu as I've listed it, as it is listed in other versions. Do what you want, basically. Find out how your table is going to be playing it. So, long-winded rant aside, I run 3 wind-style Toad Water Pistol Jutsus. This is the Ninja Toad Jutsu, best Ninja Toad Jutsu in the game. It is a lightning and wind jutsu with a cost of 2 lightning or 3 colorless chakra. Requirements are 1 Ninja Toad, as every toad in the deck is. Target is 1 ninja battling against the user. The effect is that the target becomes a standby ninja, and there's a combination effect with wind to give 1 damage to the target. So this is the jutsu that I was mentioning with the Naruto with combination. Combination is an effect, passive effect, where if another ninja in the team, so not the user, has whatever the combination is stating, in this case a wind element, you give 1 damage to the target. So, for example, if Naruto and Gamakichi were the only ones in the team and were using this jutsu, you would not get the combination effect, even though they themselves are wind, because combination needs to be another ninja in the team. However, if Gamakichi, this isn't possible, but if Gamakichi was in a team with Naruto and Gamakichi used this jutsu, because a teammate in this team has the wind symbol, they do get the combination effect. So that is kind of the stipulation on that. So this jutsu is so strong because not only is it going to knock a ninja away for only 2 chakra, not only reducing their team power by that ninja's combat value, but also negating essentially any jutsus that they were using. But giving 1 damage to the target is going to mean that they're going to be less useful later. And if this is on your opponent's turn, now you can swing into them without that ninja being able to be put back into the team it was in originally, which is very strong. Similar effects with Fear by Genjutsu, knocking a ninja to standby and giving 1 damage under specific criteria, means that this is just a little bit weaker, but obviously usable by anyone and is unlimited. And with the stipulation that if a Ninja Toad is using this, Naruto can search for another copy of this and put it on the top of your deck. So you could be blasting this 3 turns in a row, and your opponent's not really going to be able to handle that very well. So you want to run this at 3 in any Ninja Toad deck. It is the best Ninja Toad jutsu. Next, I run 2 Frog Kumite. It is a lightning jutsu with 2 lightning as the cost. Target is 1 jutsu. Effect is negate the target. And the expert effect, which is an effect that goes off if the user, unlike combination, has the listed characteristic, which in this case is Senjutsu. Draw 1 card for each symbol on the target. The expert effect is why I run 2 of these over Toadmouth Trap, which is a similar jutsu, negation, lightning to lightning chakra, because the aim of this deck is to get Shima and Fukasaku out as early as possible, and obviously they have Senjutsu. So drawing is more important than getting +2 to your stats with Toadmouth Trap. So I do prioritize this a little bit more, though. If you want to run Toadmouth Trap, assuming that pretty much every Toad is going to be getting a benefit from that, I don't see the issue with that at all. Next, I run a 3rd Summoning Jutsu. This is the one where Jiraiya is summoning Gama. Again, you can't really differentiate very well. There's no title or anything. The requirements are oil, which is the other reason why we had so many emphasizing oil in the early game. 2 lightning chakra as its cost, and the effect is search your deck for 1 Ninja Toad ninja card, reveal it and move it into the user's team in any position, then shuffle your deck. At the end of the turn, if the user did not have an entrance cost of 4 or more, move that Ninja Toad ninja to your hand. So this card is limited to 1 on both of the lists because it's extremely powerful due to a synergy with the 4th Hokage Younger Days, who is a turn 4 ninja with an oil combat attribute and mastery. So he can actually spam this to get Gamabunta, to get Great Ninja Toad, or Giant Ninja Toad, pretty much swarming the field every single turn for 3 chakra. I run one of these, even though it is slightly worse in certain situations, because if Naruto and Gamakichi are on the field, you can put in play your Fukasaku on turn 1, and then Fukasaku can use this summoning jutsu on turn 1, and since the entrance cost reduction is only while they are in your hand, Fukasaku is still a turn 4 while on the field on turn 1, so you actually get to keep any ninjas, any toads summoned with this jutsu as long as Fukasaku was using it. So that's a very nice combo. Even if this wasn't limited to 1 in this specific deck, I would probably run this at 1 with the other at 2 anyway. So that just kind of worked out conveniently. But in any other sort of style of Ninja Toad, you probably are going to emphasize this a little bit more with your 4th Hokage Younger Days. And lastly for jutsus, this is the crux of the deck, Five-Pronged Seal. If you've seen my Sharingan Kunai deck, you'll know this jutsu very well. It's a fire jutsu with a lightning, fire, water, wind, and earth requirement for chakra. The target is 1 ninja battling against the user, and the effect is return the target and all cards in your opponent's hand to their original owner's deck and shuffle. If the target is not returned, this effect fails. So this is an errata version, which is interesting because it actually is printed. It's one ninja battling against the user, not one ninja anywhere on the field, as some versions list. That is the current errata effect. So you might be wondering how I can even use this. I don't have 3 of the elements listed on here. So with Fukasaku, as we explained earlier, he has the Senjutsu characteristic, which means that he can pay for any jutsu with any element. Where is that? Hang on. There we go. He can pay for any jutsu with any element. So as long as he is on the field, he can be the user, and he can use this jutsu for 5 generic chakra, meaning that as long as you have 5 chakra at all, which you easily can with Kushina and Growth and Platoon, Fukasaku can use this jutsu. I believe personally that this is one of the most powerful jutsus in the entire game. Removing your opponent's hand is essentially the end of the game for them. If they don't have a way to stop this, then that means their entire game is going to be based on what they can draw in the next turn, which more than 9 times out of 10 is not going to be something that can save them from whatever it is that you have that just got this off anyway. So the entire crux of the deck is to get out Naruto and or Gamakichi, platoon over them to get the Naruto and Gamakichi platoon, get out Fukasaku, whether by drawing into him or summoning jutsuing him, getting him on the field on turn 1, hopefully, and then using this jutsu with him to wipe out your opponent's hand and essentially win the game from there. Obviously, Fukasaku is the prime target, being turn 4 with a higher stat total, but Shima is also available as well. She does have Senjutsu as well. So either of them are prime targets, so you have 4 options for the Five-Pronged Seal strategy. This is basically only usable with the Naruto and Gamakichi in the way that I'm using it. I do think it's still playable, obviously, even if this is at 1. The Naruto clone being in the deck means it's searchable, and essentially you have 4 copies that you can hopefully grab onto, especially with the Gamakichis that can search when put in play on turn 0 or 1 or 2 or whenever you're going to put in play. So I do think it's definitely still feasible. The deck is obviously better with as many of these as you can possibly get. So 3 meant that this deck was extremely consistent. Being at 2 makes it less consistent, but not in any real measurable way. But I do still believe this is possible with an untapped deck format with just 1 of these. But obviously it's going to be a little harder to pull off. On to missions. Turn 0 missions. I run 3 Unexpected Result. It is a lightning turn 0 with 1 hand cost. The effect is search for 1 Gamatatsu or Gamakichi ninja card in your deck and put it in play, then shuffle your deck. So this is the 3 copies that are essentially making the deck have 12 turn 0s, because you can use this on turn 0 to bring out a turn 2 Gamakichi. So with that in mind, this essentially counts as 3 more turn 0 ninjas at the cost of deck space and 1 chakra. But putting in 1 chakra for the hand cost is actually beneficial because you want as much chakra in the early game without dumping for your Five-Pronged Seals and your Summoning Jutsus with Fukasaku. So this is the reason I run the turn 2 Gamakichis instead of the turn 0 Gamakichis, because this can be used to get that Gamakichi out as a platoon target. So with the Gamakichis and these, it's essentially 3 turn 0 Gamakichis with 2 turn 0 Narutos for 5 targets total for the platoon. So that's the reason I run 3 of these, and otherwise you should be running turn 0 Gamakichis. On to turn 2s, I run 3 Monster Research. As I have listed in any water or lightning deck profile, I do believe this is one of the best draw missions in the entire game. Turn 2 with 1 hand cost. Its effect is reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Then your opponent separates the revealed cards into 2 piles. Move one of the piles into your hand and move the other to your discard pile. This is kind of a skill check mission. The better your opponent is, the worse this is going to be for you. But assuming that you and your opponent are equally skilled, as you kind of have to assume in any deck building scenario, you can make this work to your advantage. You can draw up to 2 or even 3 cards if one of your cards is very powerful in your opponent's eyes, and filter out any cards that you might not be wanting. So not only is it a +2 or 3 to your hand, not counting the cost of this and the hand cost, but it also allows you to filter, which means that your next draws are going to be more beneficial as well. Lets you put Messenger Ninjas into your discard pile, lets you put Naruto's, Kushinas that you don't need, extra unexpected results, any extra, Gamakichis, whatever you don't need into your discard. So one of the best draw missions in the game. I would run it at 3 in almost every lightning and water deck. Continuing with turn 2s, I run 2 Messenger Ninjas. This is fitting the 3-2-2 curve of missions that I run in pretty much every lightning deck. Messenger Ninja's effect is if you have 1 or more Messenger Ninja cards in your discard pile, draw 3 cards. Very powerful turn 2 mission, drawing 3 cards for essentially free so long as you have Messenger Ninja in your discard, which hopefully you do because you've used it earlier to search for something, means it's just a good draw card. I do only run it at 2 because I think 3 is too clunky. There are situations where you don't have the Messenger Ninja in your discard, and in that situation you don't want to see these at all. And unlike other lightning decks that I don't have any way to filter the Messenger Ninjas into my discard. So running it at 2 is even more important for this version. Next, I have 2 The Sage Returns, turn 2 still, and 1 hand cost. The effect is search your deck for 1 Ninja Toad Ninja, reveal it, then move it to your hand, then shuffle your deck. If you control a ninja with Senjutsu, which are Fukasaku and Shima, and that ninja's entrance cost was less than your turn marker, put it in play. Essentially, this is a put-in-play jutsu in mission form. So long as you have Fukasaku or Shima on the field, and if you have your platoon in play, which hopefully you do in pretty much every game, you can search your deck for a ninja and move it into your hand, which is the important clause, because when it's in your hand, it's getting reduced by 3 entrance cost. And then if you have Senjutsu on the field with Fukasaku or Shima, you can just put that ninja into play straight away. So the ideal setup is that you have Naruto and Gamakichi on the field. You've brought Fukasaku out, whether by deploying or summoning jutsuing him or whatever it is. And then you use the Sage Returns to search out, let's say, a giant ninja toad on turn, it's turn 6, so turn 3. And then because Fukasaku's on the field, because Naruto and Gamakichi are reducing its entrance cost, you can put it in play immediately. That allows you to also then use your deploy for something else that turn, essentially making this a put-in-play jutsu, as I was saying. So I do run it at 2. This is a good search even if you don't have the Senjutsu aspect, even if you don't have Naruto and Gamakichi on the field. You can search for Fukasaku, you can search for Shima. If you somehow haven't drawn into them, you can even search for the Naruto and Gamakichi if you're really, really behind on the curve. So it's a good safe tech tutor, and I do run it at 2 because 3 feels a little clunky. Again, you hopefully have the targets, but if you don't, it's basically just a tutor, which isn't very helpful for turn 2. And lastly, 1 Toad Sage. This is turn 3 with 1 hand cost. You can show 1 Ninja Toad Ninja to your in your hand to your opponent and move it to the bottom of your deck to draw 3 cards. Essentially no stipulation like with Messenger Ninjas. You just have to have a Ninja Toad in your hand, which hopefully you do since almost the entire deck is Ninja Toads, and it just lets you draw 3, which is very good. I could see this being a 2 if you prioritize draw power more, but in my situation, I don't really need any more than 1. So that is the deck. I do think it's one of the more meta decks that I have, and obviously I love experimenting with this Five-Pronged Seal tech. So it's a little bit different than your standard Ninja Toad aspect, focusing more on cheesing out high priority targets and using jutsus to disrupt and hopefully, prevent your opponent from playing very much. A lot of other variants will run more standard with more Narutos, more fourth Hokages, more Jiraiya's to kind of benefit from the lightning ease of having Rasengans, having special kunais and stuff. But I really liked the variant with Senjutsu. I love Five-Pronged Seal. I think I have 2 more decks attempting to make this the most powerful jutsu possible. So that is the main crux of this version. So hopefully you like this version. I very much do. I think it is competitively viable and still holds its own even against other Ninja Toad decks, other variants specifically. So if you do, give me a like, give me a subscribe. If you want to see more deck profiles, in 2 weeks I'll be doing another off-meta deck, and I will have other videos on the way as well. So thanks for showing your appreciation. I've gotten a lot of comments and well wishes and likes from everyone. I'm glad to be doing this and promoting the community, promoting the Discord server group, and just getting more vision on this game in general. I've gotten a lot of comments saying, "Oh, I thought this game was totally dead." Yeah, well, it was, and we're trying to bring it back. It never truly went away, but it definitely had its lull. And if we can get as many people into this again, playing tournaments, trading cards, buying cards, promoting it online and everything, I think we'll have a nice little resurgence here. It's definitely my favorite game. I just like to see it doing well, and I hope that you do as well. So like I said, I do deck profile videos every 2 weeks, and so I will see you here in the next one, hopefully, and we can keep this ball rolling on deck profiles of all my decks. I think we're more than halfway there, but I will see you in the next one. Bye.